You're an intelligent person, right? At the very least, as a human being, you consider yourself more intelligent than the other species around you. The front part of your brain, the cerebral cortex, the part that's responsible for your logic, your abstract thinking, and your decision making, that's way more evolved. And that's the part that makes you not just stand out, but also dominate all the other animals on this planet. So it makes sense that you, or any other human, would feel superior to these creatures. You have the ability to think and to remember better than any other animal out there, so far as we know. But what if, on the most fundamental levels, this part of your brain holds you back? What if it keeps you from realizing something significant, something that stems deep into the truth of your nature? I'm talking about the truth of who you really are and where you come from. Concentrating primarily on the faculties of intelligence, our logic and our memory, Western culture's philosophy has influenced the viewpoint that we, as human beings, are separate, isolated beings living apart from the rest of the world around us, needing to confront and control everything just to survive and feel secure. But this can't be the only perspective we have on our species. Surely, we can think up another approach than that of the Earth being a big, huge rock floating in space, covered with separate, distinct living organisms, each in competition for their place to survive. So, what if we were to entertain another approach? What if, just like all the planets are in balance with each other in our solar system, and all the organs in our body are working in harmony together, all the animals and every species on this planet were in balance and working in harmony together also? Taking this further, what if, just like the skin grows hairs and the trees grow leaves, the earth grows people? See, within this worldview, our existence on this planet would be an expression of the solar system and its balance, just as much as all the planets are an expression of our galaxy and its balance. This would mean that we are not separate from one another in the universe, and that we are actually one and the same, coming from the same source. Everything would be connected, and behind the scenes of our intellectual understanding, everything and everyone would be in perfect harmony with each other. Now, you might say, if there is in fact perfect harmony, what about all the conflict between people and nations, and all these wars? Well, let's take a look at the human organism as an example. When you take a look at the human system in our bloodstream through a microscope, you see all sorts of cells in what looks like to be an all-out battle to the death with one another. And at that level, it looks like chaos and illness. It looks like disharmony. It's not until you take a step back, zoom out, and look at the being as a whole that you see a properly functioning immune system. And by studying just a bit of biology, you see that our entire organism depends on the continuance of this battle between the cells. It actually strengthens our body's defenses and is a sign of great health. What looks like conflict and disharmony on one level is actually health and harmony on another. All it takes is looking at it from a different view, a different level of awareness. So, why is it that some of us don't see this harmony in our lives? Why is it that some of us don't recognize things from that higher level of awareness? And why is it that we have special titles like mystic or sage for people who do? What is it about these people that gives them the ability to not just recognize this perspective, but to understand and experience it with their entire being? I like to suggest that it has something to do with the way we use that front part of our brain, that part that's responsible for our thinking, particularly in the way we think when we identify ourselves. See, there's a particular transition one makes within themselves when they go from being completely connected and in harmony with the universe to feeling separate and isolated from everything and everyone around them. We all go through this shortly after we're born. Up until the age of about 2, we don't have a clear sense of being separate from our environment. We're still swimming in that sea of oneness. But after that front part of our brain develops a little more, and we begin to use and understand language more, we begin to develop a concept of self. We begin to recognize ourselves in the mirror as an independent being. Then through our schooling, as our social world expands, we become even more aware of our independence, and with that, our preferences and our sense of individuality. We start to see how our abilities and characteristics differ from others, and how we fit into the larger social context. All of this, including the contributions of our culture, go on to put us through something we can call somebody training, where we develop an ego, a sense of self, and learn to navigate the world around us as an independent entity. And then with that, after a while, comes a deep sense of anxiety, because unless everything outside the bounds of our skin is going exactly how we want, inside us, we feel a sense of insecurity, of lack, of loneliness, and of fear. That's what then goes on to influence our behavior in our relationships and our decisions in our careers. We move with this longing to fulfill something within us by wanting to change and control everything around us. But as those of us who've tried already know, we waste a great deal of energy trying to do this, trying to get everything perfect to our preferences. So, what's the alternative? And what about that harmony that's already there? If we're connected to everything around us, and everything is flowing in perfect unison, just like the Earth is connected and flowing in perfect balance with the solar system, how do we acknowledge that and align our perspective to it, align our lives to it? Well, you can study the field of ecology and know how deeply intertwined we are with our environment, but this is only going to give you knowledge of these connections. It won't give you an understanding that you can feel and really live with. In other words, it'll do little to change the way you identify yourself. To do that, you have to first undo the influence of Western society's cultural conditioning. You have to undo the training that tells you that you are a separate individual, bound to the limits of what's within your skin, playing out a serious role in society. Because that idea of who you are is just that, an idea. It can only include what you can fit into your conscious attention in any particular moment, what you can fit into that front part of your brain. Your name, your body, your profession, this isn't who you really are. These are just thoughts you have about who you are, a tiny, insignificant fragment of who you are. It doesn't include all that's in the unconscious, all the biological processes, the way your organs and your blood flows work, the way your muscles work, the way your breathing happens, the way you interpret the vibrating energy around you, or even the very way you experience consciousness altogether. With just a little consideration, it's clear that this idea you have about who you are is not complete. You are not exclusive to your body and its mechanisms. There is a self that is greater than your ego. There is a way of knowing that is higher than logic. But to truly understand this, you must break the bondage of your brain's processes. To do that, you must inquire. You must ask yourself the fundamental questions. Who are you? Who would you be if you had no words to describe yourself? Who would you be if you knew no language with which to express yourself?